All right, so Modern Warfare 2 is officially announced. We now have trailers for it, and we got to see it. I can't actually tell you what I played. Unfortunately, I am still embargoed under that. But luckily for you, we had a 2-hour presentation that was followed by a hands-on session, and I can tell you about a lot of things. First, I got to start with a bit of housekeeping. And just disclose that Infinity Ward did fly us down for this preview event, but other than that, everything is just our thoughts and impressions of this game.
So, starting off, Aaron, why don't you tell me about Ground War and what Modern Warfare 2 has in store for Ground War?
So Ground War, oh my god, fans are going to be really excited about this. So Modern Warfare 2019, attracted a big Battlefield crowd because Battlefield was kind of not doing so great at that time, and it's not doing so great now again. So Ground War is now part of a larger battle mode in Modern Warfare 2. So it's just one of the modes. And we saw Ground War. We didn't see what the other modes are. But there was something really interesting. So the devs basically said that across the entire game, all of the mechanics go everywhere. So like single player, Warzone, co-op, and Spec Ops, which they hinted at. So they said that they were testing something like 50 players versus up to 300 AI. They didn't tell us exactly how that's going to play into this larger battle mode, but they just hinted at what they were capable of doing. There's 2 maps that we were shown. One is much bigger and more purpose-built. They talked about how it was tough last time around when they made Ground War. They just sort of haphazardly put things on Verdansk, which it still played really, really well. But this time they're making them purpose-built. There is a lot of interior space. Like every single building that we saw had interior spaces, and you could go floor to roof. There's also now water on the map, like some of the Battlefield maps. So one map we saw had a giant lagoon to one side with an objective on an island. So it's just, it's an expansion of Ground War. If you already liked Ground War, you're getting a bigger sandbox and a bigger set of purpose-built maps. We also saw another map that looked a lot like Promenade. So I think they are trying to keep in mind that some players do want that really quick action. But even the Promenade map had a lot of interior spaces. So it is for Modern Warfare players who like those open layouts, the open design. And again, probably not as much for the, the Cold War classic Call of Duty players who like small, tight, 3-lane kind of maps. Now, that being said, that's the bigger thing. The smaller thing is the Core 6v6. This one is actually more for the Cold War fans. These maps were tighter, they were smaller in many cases than some of the Modern Warfare 2019 maps. And I don't know if I can go into too much detail, but visually they reminded me a little bit more of Cold War maps. So it seems like they're trying to split the difference. Go bigger on Ground War and go sort of smaller, more competitive focused in the Core 6v6.
So when you're talking about vehicles, I'm curious about, vehicles are such a big part of Battlefield's all-out warfare and Call of Duty's take with Ground War. Is there any kind of new or consistent infantry interaction with your vehicles, the way that when you think back to a game like Battlefield Hardline, you used to be able to kind of break out of windows and aim out the passenger side seat with an AR or something. How is Call of Duty handling vehicles in Ground War?
Yeah, so across the board, they've had a lot of tweaks to vehicles, and I think people will be most excited about this in Warzone actually, because this is where it'll have the greatest impact. So there's 2 things that really stood out. One of them was they've overhauled the amount of things you can do to vehicles. So you can break off bumpers, you can blow out tires, you can blow off doors. I was firing an anti-material rifle and having a really good time doing this kind of stuff. You can also get out, you can lean out, but you can lean out on the driver's side and the passenger side now. And you can also get on the roof, almost like Just Cause style now. The other thing is there's a repair torch. So it'll be nice. People destroy your vehicle and the repair torch is useful now. You can repair it and then keep moving. So again, that's in Ground War and that's also in Warzone. There's another really cool touch. So they've doubled down on vehicles. There's water vehicles. A lot of the vehicles are amphibious, but there's a giant transport helicopter that's going to be in every mode. And even if you're piloting it, if you get out of the pilot seat, it has an interior cargo bay. So you can walk around the cargo bay and shoot out of it, snipe out of it, fire rockets out of it. It's really cool to have this giant interior space in a moving vehicle. So it just opens up a lot of sandbox possibilities.
That's interesting. So you're not stuck in a seat like you would be out of another attack chopper like in an attack chopper in Battlefield or something. You know, you would usually have those two turrets, or you, even if you were just using your own gun, you would kind of be locked in, almost like an on-rail type situation. So here you're actually able to just run around, shoot out through different angles.
Yeah, and that's why in Warzone I always jumped on top of cars instead of got into cars, because I didn't like the limit that you could like swing, because you could get caught by somebody and you couldn't get to them. So it kind of gets rid of that thing where you have to like sort of like cheat by jumping on top, not cheat, but like exploited by jumping on top of vehicles as opposed to getting in. What they did change was the perk system. So the perks now come in packages. It's kind of like how the specialist system that you could select worked in 2019, but it's on all the time now. So what you do is you pick 2 perks, then you earn a bonus perk, and then you earn an ultimate perk. So that's kind of cool because it means you can, at least in the core multiplayer, it means that you could sort of like quickly switch between packages of perks, and you weren't instantly powerful. So like it rewarded you for playing, and the better you did, the more perks you got, which again is consistent with that older system that you could toggle on or off. So it'll be interesting to see how people adapt both their loadouts and also their perk packages, which is kind of a new thing.
So taking things back towards talking about the sandbox and stuff, there's obviously a bunch of equipment and different tools they can kind of use in your combat. What kind of equipment and tools did you see?
Ooh, Sandbox. This is my favorite thing in the whole world. Okay, so this kind of ties everything together. This ties together vehicles, this ties together water, and this ties together that sort of mil sim thing that people love. A lot of the gadgets were near future. They actually, some of them seem very Rainbow Six Siege inspired. There's a camera that's very much like Rainbow Six Siege that everybody can throw around the map, and it networks, so your whole team can look through the camera. That one seemed more useful for like core modes, competitive core modes, where you're trying to tell where the other team is. There were 2 modes we played. One was like grab the hostage, and the other was last one holding a bag. So maybe that's where that's useful. But then there comes the really fun stuff. So there's now a drill charge in the game, like I believe Fuse from Rainbow Six Siege, and you can throw it through. There's going to be so many good Mythbuster episodes. The drill charge you can stick to floors, walls, ceilings, doors, or people, and it'll drill in, and after a second, throw a grenade into the room. So it's really good for getting into rooms where somebody's entrenched or like camping. But it's also against vehicles. So if you hit a vehicle with it, it'll start drilling into the side of the vehicle, and they get a warning, and it forces people out of that vehicle, because if they stay inside, they'll probably die. So they're thinking a lot more about the equipment vehicle interaction, so people have more tools to deal with it. You can also combo it with, they had something called DDoS, which is basically an electromagnetic pulse that shut down vehicles, and the driver would have to be frantically trying to start it up. So they talked about, you hit the vehicle with a pulse, and then you hit it with this charge, and so you've screwed everybody, quite literally screwed everybody inside of the vehicle. They have to get out or they're done. So it's cool. There's one really good one. I have no idea if this one's going to be useful at all, but there's a blow up dummy, and there's a lot to this blow up dummy. So you throw the dummy down, and you can either manually inflate it, or you can set it to trigger inflate when something walks by it. And I can just imagine the first time you walk into a room where 10 of these have been put down and have a heart attack when 10 dummies all it's airbag, they airbag inflate all at the same time. You can also use them as a tell. So if you throw it down by a window and someone enters the room, it'll snap inflate towards that person. So it'll surprise them and also give you information as to where they are. How long people will fall for that, I'll have to ask people who alibi main in Rainbow Six Siege. But man, it was... I don't know if it's going to be useful, but it's going to be funny as hell to myth bust that one and just kind of try it out. It seemed to soak damage too. I don't know. It's just kind of silly and fun. I think that's what they're going for. Their overall theme of this game was to try and be a little bit more lighthearted than the last one.
Well, yeah, for sure. 2019 got really, really dark in some areas, almost when you least expected it, which actually is a great segue into the campaign. So Modern Warfare 2019's campaign, despite obviously having some historical inaccuracies to a fault, but the mood and the theme and the tension of that campaign, I personally actually really enjoyed. And even going back to Modern Warfare 1, 2, and 3, that trilogy was probably one of my favorite from like a story and a campaign perspective. Set pieces, a lot of, high octane action, and some really great characters and storytelling. So, obviously Captain Price is back, and as is Soap. And so I was hoping you could kind of tell me if you saw anything about that campaign. I'm dying to know.
So it's funny, I got a little bit of mixed messaging on the campaign. They're trying to make the campaign less thought-provoking, I would say, than the previous one. They're trying to play it a little bit safer. So what that looks like we actually saw a bunch of close quarters combat, like a lot like the Clean House mission in London. But they took out a lot of the civilians and the things that really made you like think about not wanting to shoot things. It was just full of bad guys. So what they're kind of trying to do overall with the campaign is they're trying to take a lot of the greatest hits, like All Ghillied Up and missions like it, and add a twist to it. What we'll see if they can pull off is, it's either going to be like, oh my god, this is incredible nostalgia, this is super clever, or like they're going to have a challenge to create their own identity as a game. We don't know which way it's going to go just yet. A lot of those missions incorporated water. As mentioned, water came up quite a lot. Water, close combat, but then they're adding a bunch of other mechanics. There was like a GTA style level with people like, climbing on cars and jumping car to car in a car chase. Then they told us about the plot, and the plot is that America has killed a foreign general. This sounds familiar to some of you. And that foreign entity seems like contracting cartels in Mexico to retaliate. So Task Force 141 is basically hunting down those who are going to retaliate around the world before that they can do this retaliation. So I think high level, it's still sort of grounded in real world events, but moment to moment, they're playing it a lot safer. Like I wasn't bursting in any rooms with like babies or anything like that in it, which I liked. I liked that about 2019 because it was the first time in a Call of Duty game where I didn't want to shoot something, which is saying a lot. I mean, I've never played a Call of Duty game that like made me think that much. So they're not trying to do that. They're trying to make it a little bit more just fun for people.
So following up on the campaign, you mentioned that the United States kills a foreign general, which, LMAO. But where does that take you? What kind of locations are we seeing? Is it going to be mainly in the US, or is it going to be kind of like the original Modern Warfare 2 where you were jumping from, all over the world into like these different areas?
It's definitely all over the world. So I think we saw a mission in Amsterdam. Pretty much guarantee there'll be a mission in Mexico. They mentioned the Middle East. We didn't see more than a couple levels. But yeah, it's more classic Call of Duty. It's very globe-trotting story.
Were you able to kind of swap perspectives or play as different characters, or were you always playing as Captain Price or as Soap?
Ooh, that's a good question. You weren't playing as Price. I don't remember if you swapped. I did see a lot of variety in missions, so I can't tell who it was. Like one of the ones we saw was a night mission, and they mentioned you getting to do like night operations and see the Apache gunships come in and do those awesome like gun runs at night. But because of that, I actually couldn't tell who it was we were playing as. The main protagonist of the last game is back, so it might be continuing their development or it might jump around. I honestly couldn't tell you which one it was just yet.
Was there anything like, did they mention cross-play, cross-progression? Is that still going to be expected for Modern Warfare 2? Because they have it on all their other Call of Duties. I feel like it would make sense to have that capabilities with Modern Warfare 2 as well.
This was interesting. At the very beginning of the presentation, they talked almost like about a shared world experience. They were super vague about it. I think the developer said even something along the lines of you seeing other players doing things in the game while you were playing, which sounded almost Destiny-like, but then they didn't go into any detail or answer any more questions on that. So I do imagine it will have all of the same quality of life stuff that Modern Warfare currently has. I imagine that's cross-play, cross-save, which they currently have in the game right now.
Awesome. Thank you, Aaron. So I think that's going to do it for us. All you guys watching, please write in the comments what you're hoping to see, what you're excited for, and tell us any rumors that you have, and maybe we can go around and myth bust some of them.
If you want more detail, also Summer went down to the event for us and she wrote up a much more extensive post that you can find over on GameSpot. I'm serious. Like, they told us a lot, and I'm just sort of like trying to keep this pretty high level for Modern Warfare fans. So head on over there and read what she has to say about it.
All right, so that'll do it for us. We'll see you guys later.